Hello, all you infinite wonders out there. I'm Din, and I wanted to talk about the very first episode of Infinity Train before I get into the rest of the series, like my initial thoughts and reactions, and just overall feelings towards it. And then I'll jump ahead to the very final episode and, kind of go over how I feel about that one. Kind of how I feel about this, and then how I feel about that later down the line. But I'm talking about episode 1, titled The Grid Car, and technically episode 2, The Beach Car. Technically. It's kind of all jumbled together because of the way that this series was released for the most part. It's a very interesting way they decided to do this, kind of like an event, almost like Over the Garden Wall, but not quite. It seemed like a very weird time to release this, as well as it feels like this would have made a more interesting release, in September, November, something along that lines. But the series proper, in The Grid Car, we're introduced to Tulip, who is a struggling game designer. Well, she's an up and coming, aspiring game designer, 12 years old, in the height of adolescence and all that good stuff. And she's ready to go away to this programming camp so that she can become a game designer. And we see her talking, being a very normal kid with her friend Michaela, who's only ever interested in the games that Tulip designs. We also are introduced to the main crux of Tulip's problems as a whole, and that's in the fact that her parents are recently divorced, and she's going through a tough time of it. And, Michaela, while not trying to initially be insensitive to Tulip's situation, asks her a lot of prying questions about how odd it must be because of the fact that her parents are separated. And that's a really interesting thing to try to tackle in terms of a kid's show as a whole, because sometimes you see that, like, later down the line when the parents have already been separated for the while and the kid has already kind of come to terms with it, or you see them in, already running away and, really taking a tough time with it, but you don't really see it, a few weeks in, where it's still kind of like a fresh wound for the child. They've kind of come to terms with it, but they still feel very touchy about the situation. Is very evident by the way that Tulip kind of dodged around Michaela's prying questions. So you kind of come to a realization that the programming camp that she's going to is kind of her only real solace so far, as a way of getting around the fact that, her home life isn't as good as she wants it to be. However, this kind of comes to a head when her mom lets her know that her dad won't be able to pick her up to take her to the, video game camp, which really kind of devastates Tulip. And she gets into this big argument with her mom, because her mom is a nurse. She just picked up a 12-hour shift, and in order to, make ends meet, now that she probably is paying all the bills by herself. She's probably receiving child support in order to, pay for her daughter and all that. So it's really kind of made clear that she's going through her own tough time for the most part as well. And the dad obviously feels pretty bad, but Tulip really takes it hard because this was something she was really looking forward to. And, it feels like this is a situation where nobody's quite in the wrong, but at the same time, nobody's quite in the right. Because, the parents, they want to do what they can for Tulip, but, this is a situation that was always going to devastate her no matter how it turned out. Now, they're not selfish for wanting to separate because they grew apart. Divorce is a very complicated situation, and it's really not a situation that most kids, can handle right off the bat for the most part. Later in life, Tulip will come to understand this situation and possibly even accept it. I would hope and think so, but right now she's just too emotional about it. She's too, she's narrow-minded about the situation, and the fact that she's not able to at least go to camp and create some good memories of this whole event to look back on. She's just, she lashes out at her mom, and it just continues to be a heartbreaking situation because of how much she was looking forward to this. And I really do love this one shot where you see her all alone in her room, that feeling of isolation, that solitude, how she just kind of closed herself off for the most part. And she even looks at the picture of her and her family, and she just laments it, how everything's changed, how everything's different now, how that kind of happiness she feels like she might never truly get that back. It's a really interesting kind of character study for Tulip as a whole. And her dad even tries to, say that, oh, I'll make it up to you. I really messed up. I, didn't schedule things properly in order to take you to camp. I'll do what I can to make it up to you. But Tulip isn't having any of it. There's this kind of feeling that her mindset is that her parents have let her down too many times. So she takes matters into her own hands. And so she decides to run away for the most part. She decides to set off and try to, make it to camp all on her own. But it's a bit of a tough journey. It's a long walk, it's a long distance. But Tulip is in luck as she comes upon this, weird glowing train that she just kind of opens up and even says, oh, it's going to Oshkosh, the convenient destination of that whatchamacallit, the gaming camp that she's going to. And she doesn't even question it in the slightest, just thinks it's a little bit of a lucky break. But once she enters the train proper, she finds herself in this, snowy field, like as if she just dreamt about that train. But as she, walks onward, she comes upon this little white robotic orb named One, who has these two halves called Sad One and Happy One. Or Glad One, I think it is. Sad One and Glad One. Which she initially thinks is a toy, but once it gets to talking and is very overly enthusiastic, thinking that, oh, is Tulip my mom and blah blah blah. A very chatty little thing. But Tulip doesn't want to answer any of One's questions and simply wants to continue on forward, and comes upon this giant snowman with a door in it. But once she examines it, it opens up to reveal that she is in fact on the train. Now, Tulip, having never been on a train before, doesn't understand that this is not how trains should normally look or work. But she proceeds forward into the grid car, which is this massive, cubic enclosure, and once you touch one of the sides of each of the cubes, it creates this continuation and stuff. A very interesting car in and of itself. And that's what I really kind of enjoy about this series. The fact that each of the cars just have these interesting quirks and peculiarities to them. But, once One and Tulip get a little bit more acquainted, Tulip starts to kind of play around and takes off her glove and notices this weird number on her hand that she's not quite sure what that actually is. And when she takes a proper look out to the landscape, she notices that it's all this barren, weird space. And there's this massive vortex in the sky with this energy that just, comes out of it. And then it seems to take away and disintegrate this person and release the energy into the earth. It's really surreal. So Tulip tries to take this moment to try to escape once the train has come to a stop for some reason, but she ends up getting stuck in the mud and set upon by these weird cockroach dog hybrid things, like really creepy, disgusting things. And so she escapes back to the train as it starts to leave. And while she makes her way up to the back to the grid car, one of the bugs manages to follow her inside, and she does her best to defend herself. But once the one of the bug dog things manages to capture her, it starts to kind of suck out her life essence. But one separates its two halves and manages to knock away the creature. One then creates this kind of enclosure around the exit so that Tulip is able to escape successfully. And Tulip kind of asks One about what they need to do, what she needs to do. That trains should have something kind of like a conductor, and One does say that the train should have something like that if Tulip can manage to get to the engine room, which, considering how infinite this train seems to be, might be easier said than done. But Tulip is determined to get out of this train no matter what, thus ending the grid car. We then switch over to the episode 2, the beach car. Which has Tulip in this weird kind of car that's all full of all these crossword puzzles and all that stuff. But one just kind of plays around and just does all these little doodles and stuff like that. And as she goes along, one continues to kind of be more of a hindrance rather than an actual help. On every level that she comes to, even this pinball level, one just doesn't seem to be able to take things seriously enough. And once the countdown on Tulip's hand actually starts going down from 115 to 114, she starts to freak out a bit. And one even suggests that once it reaches 0, Tulip might expire or some such thing. Which really starts to rile up Tulip. And so she proceeds into the beach car and comes upon this cat talking to this glob person named Randall. Now, this cat is basically obviously trying to swindle Randall for the most part. He's saying that a pipe that she has is this donut hole maker or whatever. But when Tulip overhears the cat suggest that she knows who the conductor is, the cat, Tulip asks the cat if she can take her to the conductor. And, once she even explains that, said that the countdown would lead to her expiring, the cat makes it known that one doesn't seem like the most trustworthy judge in terms of certain things on the train, which, even more decreases Tulip's faith in one. But the cat says that if Tulip helps her repair her, craft for the most part, she will take Tulip to the conductor, but she also would like to get one in terms of payment, saying that, well, he's been more of a hindrance than a help to you. What should it matter if he ends up being payment in order for you to get out of this place? So Tulip goes about fixing the car, and we even find out that at birth she was had trouble breathing, and that's why her parents named her Tulip when she survived. Like, she bounced back like a perennial flower. But all this time that this is going on, one is also kind of like, oh, Tulip like a flower, and even gives Tulip a daisy as a present. Tulip also notes that there seems to be a specific gear missing from the cat's craft, and Randall even notes that he knows where they can find one, and so he brings them to the undersea city of all these watery glob people, and he leads them to a market where Tulip has to barter for this gear, and she ends up having to hand over the flower she got from One as payment for the gear, much to the dismay of One. And the cat goes about setting off, says that she'll get in touch with the conductor in order to get get Tulip home, and One willingly goes along with the cat if only to help Tulip along on her journey. Really kind of showing that he cared about Tulip, which leaves Tulip a little bit despondent, because it's just like, oh, she realizes that maybe there might have been more to what she needed to do. She feels really guilty about the whole situation. And when Randall shows up with a whole bunch of other Randalls that he split off in order to sell this product he got from the cat, he starts talking about teamwork and togetherness, and how helping each other is the best thing, no matter how good the help actually is, which really makes Tulip feel guilty about basically selling off 1-1, and she ultimately asks Randall for help in getting 1-1 back. So, Randall takes her, they head back to the shop in order to trade off get the flour back for a stick, in trade for a stick of gum. They catch up to the cat and ask to have 1-1 handed back over to Tulip, but the cat is having none of it. So they have to glomp onto the cat's craft, with Randall seeping in to short circuit the cat's craft, and it ends up crashing. The cat swears vengeance before being chased off by Randall, and we end our episode with Tulip kind of reconciling with 1-1, showing that ultimately, no matter what, she's been a big help to her for the most part in his own kooky, weird way, and he's done his best, and he's shown that he's a true friend in the end, something that Tulip really needs in these trying times. So, a really fun and interesting first episode. Oh, first and second episode. It really shows the strength of Tulip's character, how she's slowly, growing and coming into her own. It's kind of like an ongoing trope where if you're going through these deep, dark, emotional periods in life, that having it completely derailed by an even weirder and more out there adventure kind of puts your life into perspective for the most part. But at this point in the series, the biggest questions I have now going forward are, why was Tulip chosen to go on to the train? What does the countdown on her hand actually mean? What exactly is 1-1, and what is his connection to the conductor? Because I feel like his frazzled memories might have something to do with that. And yeah, what was the deal with the cat? The cat obviously recognized 1-1 and wanted him because she thought he was valuable for something. So there's obviously something deeper there as well. And despite the fact that Tulip has been through a wide variety of cars, her countdown has only gone down one, so it really does make me wonder, how far does she have to go before the countdown reaches zero, and what actually happens when it does reach zero. What is the purpose of the Infinity Train? Where is it going? Is it trying to help Tulip in some way, shape, or form? Because that would be the only thing that would make sense. She's going through a difficult time, and why does it exist to do that? A lot of interesting questions that I'm looking forward to seeing answered. But tell me what your thoughts were of the first episode going forward, and then come back later down the line once I get to the last episode, so that we can kind of go over and discuss, how any of your theories were correct. Were you in the know, or how did you feel about this series at the start? And then, pick up on the last episode that I'll review, and that way you can go over how you felt about it towards the end, and if you liked it, disliked it, or anything like that. But leave those comments in the comment section below. Don't spoil anyone who has anything, because that way, I want this to kind of stand as a before and then after of it, towards the end of things later down the line. But I'm interested to see where this goes, and I really enjoyed it. I love the heart, I love the emotion, and I love the characters. And if you liked this video, feel free to leave me a like. If you didn't, feel free to leave me a dislike and tell me what I did wrong in the comment section below, so that I might better myself for future videos. Subscribe and hit the bell icon, that way you never miss out on another Infinity Train episode review, because I'll definitely come out with the the season finale I don't know if there's more episodes or whatever, but season finale. And we'll see where we go from there. But if you want to find me on social media, just Google Do's Diz Din. I need to find time to actually be a little bit more social on media, but hey, whatever. And until the next video, just remember that no matter what you may be going through, sometimes the detours in life can help us put things into perspective, I guess you could say. And until the next video, I'm Deuce Diz Din, and I think it's time for a little rest. Bye bye.